I could pick one. I don't know which one you'd get, but I'm going to pick one of the EKG waveforms. So I want to say, like, what does the T waveform stand for? Like, what's happening during the T waveform? Aria. Aria? Are you there? Aria. Hello, Aria. I think your mute is not, you're unmuted, but I still don't hear you. Because I don't see your microphone, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Wave your hand if you can hear me. Okay, so you can hear me. I cannot hear you. And you're, okay. All right, so I'll pick somebody else. So, Arnav.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. So the T wave. What does the T in the EKG? Oh, well, that's a question too. What does the T wave represent? What's happening during the T wave?
Oh, the ions are leaving the cells. The positive ions. Like the ventricle is being repolarized.
In the T. Okay. Good. Yes. So both of those things are true. Very good. So the word is the ventricles are being repolarized and the positive ions are leaving the cell. So that is excellent. Excellent. Good work. So I could ask those two things. I want you to kind of name it, the words. I guess in my head I was picturing the words and then the explanation second. That was beautiful. And so I could ask that about the P wave. I could ask you about what's happening in the QRS complex. I could ask you any of those things, right? So those are all things. And then I could ask information about each of the areas, like why is the SA node called the pacemaker? Because all of them have their ability to have, they all can make their own pace, right? They have different numbers. Like if the pacemaker, what value do we generally give to the pacemakers beats per minute that it'll stimulate? What number value? Juliana.
Wait, can you say the question again?
Yeah, so the SA node has a different inherent rate than the AV node does, and the Purkinje fibers have a different inherent rate than the other two. So what is the inherent rate of the SA node?
70?
Yeah, so 70, 75. Really, there's more to it. So this is not on our test, but in 11th grade, just so you don't say that I was teaching the wrong thing, in 11th grade, we'll learn that its inherent rate is actually 100, and it's because the nervous system keeps it at 70, but so the typical, so I'm not going to call it inherent, I'm going to say the typical rate of the SA node is in the 70s, right? How about the AV node, Mikey?
The AV node?
Yeah.
That was number 2, right? On the bottom?
Oh, I'm not on a page. I'm just doing it from my head. So I'm not actually looking at a page.
Oh, okay. So, wait, do you just want to know, like, what it is?
I want you to tell me what its typical rate is. If it's not being bossed around by the SA node, what would its rate be?
40.
Okay, so yeah, between 40 and 60 or 50 is probably if you're going to pick one number instead of the range. And what about the Purkinje fibers, Addie? Hello, Addie.
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. Is it 30?
Yeah. So that's how we can get. What does VF stand for? VF, Olivia. What's VF? What is VF short for?
I'm not sure.
Mary. What does VF stand for?
Ventricle fibrillation.
Good, ventricular fibrillation. That's cardiac arrest, right? So that's how cardiac arrest happens, is that each area of the heart is beating to its own drum, right? It's not in sync. The areas of the heart are not listening to the SA node or the pacemaker, because truly all of the parts of the green that we drew on the board, or yellow that's in the packet, they all can create their own pace. But the point is that we want the SA node to be in charge or be the pacemaker. So when the SA node is not in charge and is not the pacemaker, then we can end up with VF. One of the 4 types of cardiac arrest, but that's the one we talk about. And when we do that, we talk about it. We use the AED to hopefully correct it while we're doing CPR. And AED is, Arsh, what's AED? What's AED?
Like automatic. I'm trying to think of it.
What?
Give me a minute. I'm trying to think.
Oh, okay.
I forgot it.
Okay, Lee do.
I don't remember it either.
Who remembers? Who remembers?
Is it automated external defibrillator?
Good, yes. Yeah. Who was telling me that?
Arnav.
Where are you, Arnold?
My camera's off.
Okay, there you go. All right, good. Nice. All right, so and that the point of that is to depolarize all the cells, all the whole system, the whole green system or yellow system, the whole intrinsic conduction system. And with the goal of that SA node should be the one that gets repolarized the fastest and takes over again. That's the plan. That's the plan, because everything's out of sync and you want the boss to be the boss again. And if they're having not just plain old myocardial infarction, but in addition cardiac arrest or separate and on its own cardiac arrest, you need the AED to solve that problem. Okay, so let's see. I thought of one and then I didn't want to finish that, keep the person from answering the question, and now I can't remember what I was thinking at that time. So that's the kind of stuff. So you got to. So there's a guarantee, though. I'm definitely going to ask everybody. Name me the parts. I'm definitely going to ask information about the. Oh, what does EKG stand for? Hannah, that's what I was thinking. Hannah, what does EKG stand for? That was the thing I started to say, and then I forgot I was going to say it.
I'm not really sure.
Okay. Jasmine. EKG, what does that stand for?
Electrocardiogram.
Good, electrocardiogram. So ECG and EKG are the exact same answer, right? If I ask either of those, then you know those. Okay, so that's the general plan for Wednesday, is for me to call each of you. So I'm going to need you while you're doing your assignment, which means you're going to have to access the Chapter 18. You're not required to print out all of Chapter 18. It's right there for your use in the Google Classroom. So you can just read from the Google Classroom, or you can print it out, either or, but you have the reference. So on Wednesday, I'm going to upload by the end of Tuesday, I'm going to upload the worksheet so you have time to print it out. Well, and even if you don't have time to print it out, you can write on notebook paper. So you'll be working on a classroom assignment while I call everybody. And now I did this exact same type of evaluation with my 11th graders. It's very important so that we get through as many people as possible that you have your eye on the Google Classroom to accept my individual invite to your Hangout, because I had a couple people who were just working on their work and weren't paying attention. I kept having to send a message, whoever you are, person, please accept my invite. Please accept my invite. Please accept my invite. It slows it down, because we want to get as many done as possible during the class, because if anybody who we don't finish during class, I'm going to have to try to call after 12:30. So if we're efficient, we can get almost everybody in. But if we're inefficient, then there'll be a whole bunch of people for me to call later. So everybody keep your eye on the messaging and keep your eye on Google Classroom so you can accept my invite on Wednesday so I can call and ask you questions. Okay? Everybody good?
I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think that the format of like Google Forms is much easier.
Yeah, I kind of like that too.
It's kind of like nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I
like
also
have
like
you
that
watching
Google
us. Like Miss Pittman, she watches us during like the Google Forms, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's harder to focus.
Oh, I would definitely watch you during Google Forms.
No, I mean like just
I
like
feel like the
having
Google form
to
watching
watch-
this would be easier than a one-on-one because it's kind of stressful on the spot.
Yeah, like
Yeah, especially online.
We have like a minute to think.
Yeah, but you'll have a little time to think. Yeah, with me asking you questions, and I just told you the questions. So you know what the questions are. Essentially, you know the questions. So it's not as if it was a long chapter, because it's not. I think this would be too much if we took all of chapter 11, the information I questioned you on before, and this information, we put it all together, and child CPR or whatever, and all of it was potential verbal questions. But we have a very narrow window of verbal questions that I could possibly come up with. It's just the intrinsic, the newer stuff from chapter 11, and I just gave you the majority of the questions just now. So this won't be always how we do it, but for this narrow amount of information, this is the plan. For this small amount of information.
Can you say the questions again, like one more time, like without the answers, just like what the questions were?
Okay, so definitely everybody's going to be asked, name the parts of the intrinsic conduction system. Everybody's going to be asked at least one of the waveforms from the EKG. Like to tell me what's happening. I could pick the P, the QRS complex, or the T. You got to say what's happening, like repolarization, depolarization, and then what's happening with the ions. The ions are moving in or the ions are moving out. Then I'm going to ask you some abbreviation. So we went over 3 abbreviations. So one of those abbreviations is going to be asked of you. Either EKG, VF, or ICS, intrinsic conduction system. So you're going to be asked an abbreviation. So then there were a couple others, like potential questions that might vary from person to person about the rate of each thing, or some of the other structural components between them, like how information is shared from cell to cell. So then, everybody knows the first biggest questions, which is the parts of the EKG, parts of the intrinsic conduction system. Explain one of the waveforms. Tell me what one of the abbreviations are, or the abbreviations or the acronyms. And then some other question about the rate, the typical rate, or the communication link, or some other question. So you have most of the information that you have to study. Besides, it's not a whole chapter. So I wouldn't do it this way for a whole big chapter, but it's a small chapter. It's a small portion of a chapter.
I feel like it would still be better to do a Google form.
I appreciate that, but I'm going to go this way for this one. I appreciate it. I respect your sharing that information with me, but I'm going to go this way for this one.
How many questions do you think they're gonna be?
Well, definitely those 3 things that I just told you, maybe 5.
Okay.
Anything else? And if you've been studying all along, then each one of these things you should already know all the answers to all these things. Right? Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to put in a med term 8.